JD here, and as you can see by the title of today's video, something quite different here today, but also something that I think is very important for the world of sim racing, and that is that Fanatec have filed for insolvency. And that's a little bit different to bankruptcy. Insolvency is where you basically don't have the ability to pay any outstanding debts or bills, and the debt is supposedly 95 million euros, which is just absolutely crazy. And this is coming from a company that has just made 100 million euros in the past year. So that is really the question. How on earth has a company such as Fanatec, who's making 100 million euros a year, find themselves in 95 million euros worth of debt? So that's what we're going to discuss in today's video, how this has happened, some of the reasons why I think this has happened, which have contributed towards this, but also most of all, what has been your opinion of Fanatec, what has been your experience, and why do you think they find themselves in the position they are in as of today? For me, Fanatec has been a staple in the world of sim racing for as long as I can remember. I've been league racing since 2010, and if anyone had a Fanatec I was racing against, then that was very much the premium brand at the time. And I think even from then till this very present day, Fanatec have really been dominant in the world of wheel and pedal manufacturing. I think they aren't particularly the best at everything. They're not the leading in any particular class, but what I think they do is that they are kind of the perfect bridge in between being overly expensive, being cheap, but then they actually offer a somewhat good product for a fairly reasonable price, a fairly reasonable deal. They offer a lot of compatibility, and they give you a very immersive, lifelike product, and it just looks good, it feels good, and yeah, in terms of their marketing, I don't think there is any other manufacturer that is marketed as much as this company. You probably have even got a Fanatec ad whilst you're watching this video, but we will be discussing it a little bit more later, because I actually do think the marketing, the advertising might actually be one of the main factors of why they find themselves in this position today. But in terms of the competition, I think their main competition on the cheaper side would be the likes of Frostmaster, potentially Logitech. Logitech, I feel, is probably the weakest manufacturer when it comes to wheel and especially pedals, in my opinion. But Frostmaster, I feel, offer some very good products for the price that you're actually paying. Whenever I've used their products, I've actually been very happy. Yes, they might not look as immersive and look as expensive as what a Fanatec is, but they do offer some pretty good compatibility. Not quite as good as a Fanatec ecosystem, but they actually get the job done, and you're not spending a mortgage payment in order to get that equipment. Then on the other extreme side, you have the likes of SimiCube, SimMagic, and other premium companies where you are going to be spending not just over £1,000, but potentially over £2,000 just for a wheelbase, a wheel rim, and a pedal set, which is absolutely crazy. But what you do get in return is some very high quality equipment that delivers some exceptional force feedback. Looks like a real racing wheel. The immersion factor, the quality, you really are paying for that quality. Whereas Fanatec, like I said, I don't think they offer the best quality. They don't offer the best immersion or anything at all. But I think their ecosystem is very good. They look expensive. However, the quality of the wheels themselves, I do think, can be better than what you are paying for. So that kind of leads to my personal experience with Fanatec, and this is not a video bashing them or anything by any means or stretch. They haven't always been the smoothest. I think probably the biggest complaint from Fanatec is that the reliability of their products seem to falter quite consistently. And again, you might be one of these users, and there's probably many users out there who have had absolutely no issues with Fanatec in terms of equipment quality. For me personally, the buttons I've used on every single wheel I've had from Fanatec end up spitting, end up breaking, or just simply falling off the wheel itself. I used to have a Podium DD1 and also DD2, and I felt again I had quite a few issues with those wheels where they were overheating very easily, they were freezing quite a lot, not turning on, not turning off. the power cable that you actually get with those wheels are very, very flimsy, and because of the rotation and the force feedback you're using, they actually used to disconnect quite a lot from my wheelbase, and this was actually a very, very common issue that many other people had. So when you're spending that amount of money, you would expect probably maybe even better quality than what you're actually receiving. But I also think one of the main issues that Fanatec have had in recent years is just due to their customer service. Me personally, I've never actually had an issue with an order or anything whatsoever, but I know there's been many people when, especially with the release of the CSL DD wheel, that they put their order in and it was out of stock, and then they didn't get it for 4 to 6 months, which is obviously very, very frustrating when you spend quite a lot of money on this equipment and you're not actually getting anything. Also, I know their customer service, there's been quite a lot of complaints of that in terms of responding to emails, complaints, issuing refunds. Also, other issues I've had with the wheel, especially with the pedals, the V3 pedals that I've had in the past, I find that they're a product that you have to replace quite a lot. So I had to replace quite a couple of my wheelbases. I've had to replace 3 of my pedal sets because they ended up having a really quite irritating screech, which is a very common issue on the V3 pedal. That got fixed twice when I actually applied some oil to it, but then on the 3rd time, it did actually resolve the problem. So again, I think, yeah, it looks immersive and it looks very lifelike and it looks expensive, but actually deep down, when you actually inspect the quality, for the price you're paying, I think you should expect a little bit better quality in some of the Fanatec products. And the quality of like a Frostmaster, for example, costs a lot less, but actually I don't think the quality is that much different. I think what has been really helping Fanatec is that they really do market themselves. They release new products very, very often. They look more modern, they're more up to date, and like I said, the advertising and marketing, Frostmaster barely do this. I think if Frostmaster had the level of marketing that Fanatec had, they would be a lot more successful. So really, Fanatec have had absolutely really no competition because they're kind of in that perfect middle ground. The manufacturers above them are too expensive and also just restricted to PC only mainly. The ones below them don't release yearly products, they don't market themselves, they're not really up to date, so they don't really have any competition. Until the likes of Moser that have come around, I think that has been the biggest threat to Fanatec. I've used Moser, I've actually done a review video on their products, and they were strictly on PC, but now they're starting to release more compatibility, more to consoles, and I think this has actually been the biggest threat to Fanatec and potentially the reason why they have gone so big on this marketing and advertising, which honestly I think is probably one of the biggest issues and the reason why they've actually filed for insolvency. So like I said, I think the spending on marketing and the sponsoring of competitions they've done. So we're going to talk about from the F1 game itself, sponsoring F1 esports, the eSport WRC Championship, the SRO eSport GT Series, and now the real life series, which is called the Fanatec GT World Challenge. Like I said, you're probably going to get a Fanatec ad while watching this video. I don't think you could scroll a day without seeing a Fanatec advertisement, and just how much investment and advertising that they're doing has made me wonder, actually, for quite a few years now, how do they have this much money? They must be doing insanely well in sales, and obviously making 100 million euros in 1 year confirms they're doing really well. But to have 95 million euros worth of debt, is this because of just too much unnecessary spending? And don't get me wrong, I know marketing and advertising is necessary, but I feel when there is a company as established as Fanatec, is it honestly necessary to this extent? For me, whoever was really budgeting, analysing the metrics of the return of their investments, I feel has made a pretty catastrophic error in how much they've actually spent on marketing when they were already so widely known. You know, doing billboards in F1, within the F1 game, all the things they're sponsoring, like I just mentioned, it's not going to get a return of their investment because the word of mouth was already out there for Fanatec. People know who Fanatec are. Was it absolutely necessary? Were they spending millions upon millions of pounds to get their logo out there, to get their brand out there, are they going to have millions and millions of more customers? I think honestly the answer was no. And I think that's what's been their downfall. They have just overspent very, very drastically. And even bizarrely, they've even overspent on things such as putting a go-kart track on the top of their office. So it might not just be for the marketing, but could it also be for people's salaries, for just things they just really didn't need to be doing? You let me know what you think, but I think this is really simply down to just completely unnecessary spending. And we've seen this from other companies before, where they think they are maybe doing much better than before, or they are doing really well, like Fanatec are doing, but they don't actually consider their expenses, they don't consider their assets, they don't consider things, their outcomes, outgoings, they don't factor these things in, and sadly it has come back to bite them pretty badly. Because it was rumoured that Corsair was actually meant to purchase the company, but now apparently the sale has fallen through, which is why now Fanatec have been forced to file for insolvency, as Corsair are no longer going to be sending payments to Fanatec in order to get them out of this situation, which many people have actually believed or led to believe that this is actually a tactic from Corsair to obtain the company for a much lesser fee. But for me overall, this is actually just really sad. I've had a lot of success using Fanatec products. I do think they are reasonably good products, but again, I do feel the quality has been lacking for the price. And I think all these things together, with the quality, the customer service, the reputation, also the sacking of the CEO quite a few months ago, I think all these things together, but I think definitely the biggest thing is just the amount of unnecessary spending on the marketing and sponsoring of things. I don't know if this is just their way to try and show people how big a company they are, but I just don't think it was necessary at all. I feel like it was almost burning money away when, obviously they're doing really well in the sales. How much more, how much better do you really need to be doing? But please let me know what you think. Let me know what your experience has been and what your thoughts are. And I actually really hope there can be a solution that can be found. But as of right now, it is actually quite a sad day for the world of sim racing. So I'll leave you with that. I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good day, and I'll catch you very soon. Peace.